The next conversation, we've had this guest on before, and we're going to officially announce her with her new last name as she is recently married, Coach Callie Baron. Okay, so Coach Callie Baron is back. Um, I we had such a good conversation last time, and it kind of spun into the recruitment cycle as amateur athletes have to understand it. All right. So where I want to lean this and where I want to kind of start with is a lot of times where I see on publications, especially for female sports, lacrosse specifically, is that coaches describe what they want in an athlete. However, sometimes I guess it's maybe assumed that you have to be a good player and it's not necessarily verbalized. So what I hear is, hey, I want to come to when I see you at a showcase or I see you at a tournament, I want to see that you're a good teammate. I want to see you clapping on the sideline. I want to see that you have a good attitude. And I look at it, I'm like, well, that's kind of like the given, but you're not telling the athletes, "Yo, you gotta be able to use both hands. I wanna see if you can see the field. I wanna see your dodge. I wanna see that part of it." So tell me this, when you were on the Tampa staff, when you guys were reviewing athletes that could be potential prospects, what was your process?
Okay, so the process for us at Tampa, and granted, like everyone's experience is different at every college, but when I was coaching, the process for us was we were really fortunate to compete with mid-major Division 1 schools and even some like higher level Division 1 schools. So our process was potentially a little bit different than maybe other Division 3 schools, but how it started was the email chains back and forth, who's actually interested in us, and who are we interested in based off of first initial looks. Film is like the probably the your first impression, and then for us, understanding that film is everyone's going to put all their good stuff in film. It's the
Right.
highlight reel, right? So it's a skewed perception of what their game actually is, because it's only the good stuff. So then
Okay.
from there, you go to the fall recruiting tournaments because that's when you can start to talk to, you know, uh, going into their junior year. Division 2 can start in, I think it's June 15th,
Okay.
and then obviously Division 1 is the 1st of September. So then you go into the summer tournaments, you're watching to see first looks of, like, honestly, like, talent because you may be talking to them here and there, but kind of to your point, like, yeah, no-brainer, be a good teammate. Be a good person, be engaged, don't be on your phone, like, just sit to me, that's, like, super obvious, like,
Right.
I don't know why someone who is emailing a top coach wouldn't be, like, that type of person,
Okay.
but yeah, but then I think, like, honestly, the first looks are, like, talent. They're scouting talent, right? So,
Right.
um that would be the first thing, and to gauge if someone is legitimately on our list or not, in terms of just X's and O's, just IQ, just stick work, just fitness. Fitness was like a really, really big one. Um, and then from there, phone calls would start. So, okay, these were leaving a tournament. These were our top 10 players,
Mhm.
based on talent again. Now you come into the pieces of character. Okay,
Okay.
hi, you're on the phone. What questions do you have about the program? These are some questions I have for you. Um, tell me about your family, tell me about school, what are your hobbies outside of lacrosse? And that's where you start to build the okay, was it just a perception that they were that they were like an act that they were putting on during the games, or are they actually this type of person? When coaches are walking by and you're listening to music and how you're talking to your friends, like especially like females, like we observe everything. So
Right.
I would say like that's probably the start of the process. Again, for us at Tampa, it was very different, because we were cross recruiting with Division 1 so much. We would have to wait for that September 1 date
Mhm.
for our prospects to look at all of the options because we wanted them to not just say, "I love Tampa, this is the best school, that's it, I don't wanna go anywhere else." Well, it's like, honestly, I don't really want that type of person because I want
Okay.
someone to explore all their options, I want them to be mature and then make the best decision for them. So, we would wait until September to then kind of reassessed our list of who is, again, legitimately on it, and then the big thing was a consistency piece, and this is really hard, I think, for juniors. They wanna get committed on September 1, and then they or they think that they're, like, not great. It's like, that is the my boss used to say this all the time, like, she was like, "That is the starting point, like, that's the checkered flag, that's not the end point," right? So, that's where, like, people think that they have to be committed by then, but again, consistency piece. I wanna see you in the fall, I wanna see if you're consistent from the 3 games I maybe saw throughout the entire of the 3 halves throughout the entirety of the summer. I wanna see consistency throughout the, fall. So and then a huge I honestly think this for, like, all Division 1, 2, 3, top school, the worst school in the country, whatever. I think everyone wants you to be on campus. Get to campus, go to a camp, and actually meet the staff and interact with people because now you're out of your comfort zone of your club team, and it's like, "Okay, how are you actually gonna perform when you get here when you don't know anyone?" You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's kinda like the bare bones of the start of the recruiting process, and then it's just, multiple conversations, sharing transcripts, figuring out if you're actually eligible to get into school,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean
Take me to the discussions amongst the staff. Right? So September comes. Now you guys have to reassess, as you say. You gotta reassess and whittle down your list. How ugly are those conversations? How beautiful are those conversations? Who gets on the table for certain girls? Which girls get cut and why? How gritty do those conversations how gritty are those conversations amongst the staff when you're starting to filter out that list?
yeah, so I think it's gonna be different for every school because there is a school for everyone.
Mhm,
I think that when you're talking about schools that are legitimately competing for national championships and it is about winning,
mhm,
those conversations can be as long as you're honest and as a staff and you can feel comfortable with each other, I think the conversations are pretty effortless, but it's um they're brutally honest, like, "This kid's not good enough."
mhm,
Like, you are truly comparing it's kind of like, sometimes you're like, "What am I even doing?" Because 'Cause I'm a 30-plus-year-old woman, and I'm judging a, 15-year-old, but that is our job, that's part of it, right? So, you're literally comparing 15-year-olds against each other or 16-year-olds, whatever, and
mhm,
then you're saying, "Okay, she is not as fit as this girl. Her stick handling is really poor. Okay, she's maybe not as fit, but her IQ is really strong and we can make her fit."
okay,
Um, so I think like it can be tough because if you get a large pool of legitimate recruits, then you can take a large class. It's obviously different in Division 1 now because of the roster limitations.
mhm,
But there's been some like this kid's really good. She's a great person. She is a good player. It's
right,
just maybe her academics aren't as strong and it's not worth the money. Like
okay,
because we don't know how she's going to perform. Is she going to be able to sustain academics and lacrosse? Because if you can't obviously get good grades, then you can't play lacrosse. So the conversations can be tough. We had a
yeah,
great staff. We had a really honest staff. We could communicate with each other really well and say how we felt. And there were times where, like, let's say I was like really gung ho on someone. I'm like, she's gonna be legit. I really, really like her, and I was really invested in her. And my boss or the other assistant would be like, no, she's not it. Like, she's not gonna fit into the system. And you kind of go like you kind of go up to like to battle for them, and then at the end of the day, it's just we just maybe don't even have enough spots. So it does get really selective, but I do think, like, the main points that we're looking at are athleticism, stick work, huge is IQ,
Mhm.
especially at those high levels, because at the end of the day, like I said, like, you can make someone fit, like, they may not like it, but you're gonna get
Right.
fit. But you're gonna get them fit, and you can help improve stick work, you can do all those things, but it is a lot harder to train someone's IQ when it's go. Like, we're starting in August, or September right after Labor Day, like, it's go time, like, we don't really
Right.
have that much time, right? So,
Right.
the development piece of IQ can be a lot harder, so I think, like, that's probably a big one, and then the last thing is when girls do not know what to talk about when it comes to financials, it's like for me as a coach, it was kind of frustrating because I'm like, "Okay, you signed up for a phone call and we're here to talk about everything." And they're like, "I don't know." And it's like, "Okay, now we have to do another phone call." And it's like, be prepared. Like, talk to your parents. What is a realistic number? Hey, I can't afford $40,000 a year. I need 50% of that. Or if I can get this much academic aid, then can we stack it? Like,
Right.
where do you see me? Am I a kid that is going to get athletic scholarship off the bat? Like, I think those are things that the girls need to know. And when they didn't know that, I was like, all right, we'll talk in another 2 weeks. And but then also my fall season's starting, so my priority is the team. So I
Right.
like you have to be when you get the chance to talk to a coach and in front of a coach, be prepared with all of the information. That was stuff that, like, drove me crazy. Um, and then the phone calls, like, this was another, like, easy way to cross someone off the list was when we did have a phone call and they just it was like, "So what do you wanna know about the program?" "I don't really know. Oh my gosh." And I'm like, this is my job. Like, I have things I need to do." So, like, that would drive me absolutely bonkers too. So I think, like, the preparedness was easy to, like, determine if, okay, this girl is gonna feel comfortable. Granted, like, we know that you're in high school, we know you're nervous, we know that it's a very exciting and nerve-wracking process for a high school player as well. But, um this process is time to, like, kind of buck up and, like, be prepared. Like, if this is what you truly want, then be confident in that and be confident with your questions, and no question is really a dumb question. What's dumb in my opinion is when you don't have any questions. Like,
Okay.
that's silly.
Right.
So, um, yeah, those are kind of how the conversations go, and then we just collectively have to say, like, yeah, we like this person, or we like her, but her grades aren't good enough, or the financials don't make sense, or she's not fit, whatever it may be. And then ultimately at the end of the day, it's the head coach's call. Like, if Kelly, my boss, was like, it doesn't, something's not right about it. I don't feel good about it. Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Like, yeah, we got to get on board and we all got to, like, band together. And I think that, and vice versa. Like, she'd be like, "Hey, I really want to take this girl. I see something in her." And if I didn't agree, or if I wasn't, like, maybe seeing what she saw because she saw more, then all I can do is trust in my coworkers to make the right choice. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, at Tampa, our recruiting culture was very, very good, very methodical. Kelly had a really great process, and I do think that we did a good job of um, having honest conversations as a staff.
Whatever you guys were doing, it worked a lot. All right.
Yeah, it did.
So here's a kind of a loaded question, but I want your coaching experience opinion, and then two, I want the University of Tampa's system. Here we go. Is it is it easier for a coach or coaching staff to recruit players to fit their current system, or adjust their system to a specific talent of a player or players?
I think my opinion and Tampa's opinion, unless it's changed, is probably going to
Mhm.
be the same.
Okay.
Um, it's a little bit of both. However, it it's easier to find the athlete, the athletic girl, and adjust our system to what our team has. So it's not finding someone. There are programs that run the same have been running the same place since I was in college, which is over 10 years ago. So it's like, there are people that are looking for that, but in my opinion, that's what a coach is supposed to do. They're supposed to find someone that is athletic, that they can say, okay, I as a staff or I as a coach and as a program, I can get creative with her.
Right.
Hey, she's real shifty and she's real slimy getting in there. Like I can get creative with that. Or we see a really great defender and she's super aggressive and can play really great on ball 1v1s. It's like, all right, I can maybe start to develop a high pressure man to man.
Right.
This is really exciting. So I do think that that's probably that's my opinion. Like, I think it's like find the athlete, find the girl that's has the stick work. She doesn't have to worry about the fitness piece because when you're fit, everything else comes easier. You can learn things a lot faster because you're not
Mhm.
worried about being tired. But
Right.
I think that yeah, that's my probably Tampa's opinion and my opinion, because also at Tampa, like, it was like in the fall, we wouldn't really do too much of the offensive because we wanted to see, like, IQ-wise what we had, and then
Right.
once we got later in the season or early in the spring season, it was like, "Okay, this is what we have. Now let's develop our offensive sets through or our defensive sets through the type of athletes we have this year because each year is different. How
Right.
fit are they coming in? Where is our IQ level? Where these freshmen that are in, like maybe we have a huge big post girl that can like do something, but I think or our goalie is super active so we can maybe pull and do a different type of ride zone, like all of those
Right.
things. So I think like that's I would say, like, probably collectively, that's probably how coaches are, not just my opinion or Tampa's opinion, but, at least me and Tampa, at least when I was there, I would say it was pretty simpatico in our opinions.
The reason I like to bring that up, me and you share the same opinion. I firmly believe my philosophy is the job of a coach is A, being able to reach their players to where they can get them to respond, and then you adjust to your personnel. Every year is going to be different. All right. Obviously, I have a football background and football coaching experience. And when I was looking for a specific high school for my son, well, for my son, he plays quarterback. And I wanted a coaching staff and a specific coach who was going to be able to utilize his skill set. Okay. Not just plug and play or make him do what they had to do. Okay. He has a certain talent and I want to be able to get the best out of him. Um, and it worked out. Okay, and it worked out. It worked out in college for him as a freshman. My daughter's pretty much the same. I've got a pretty talented daughter. We watch a lot of lacrosse, especially the schools that she and we collectively are interested in, to make sure we're following those schools to make sure that she's not going into a situations that's going to neutralize her talent and kind of make her do things they want her to do. She's got a certain skill set, like the Liam Nason. She's got a certain skill set. We need to be following programs that's going to utilize her certain skill set, and she has to be able to play within that team. But she does something special. We don't want her going on a team that she can't do that special thing that she does.
Yeah,
So I lead into this. I'm not so sure, just from my limited experience, that a lot of the girls, even the ones that you interact or you used to interact with on staff, are watching enough lacrosse. And the reason I say this, when you talk about the preparation and the phone calls, and they have no questions to ask, they don't know what to ask. Well, let's just talk about the system that we run at Tampa. That could be the starting point. How much University of Tampa lacrosse do you watch? How
yeah,
much lacrosse do you watch from the schools? Do you even know what the hell we do?
yeah,
You know, I think that's I don't know, I think they wanna play college lacrosse. I think a lot of them really are diehard, I think they like to be active and they love it. I don't know if they watch and learn enough from it.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree with you. There it's funny, like, I I remember this one girl, so I can't remember her name though, but, I remember this one yeah, I remember though, so I'm terrible with names, so that's fine. But I remember this one girl, and she was a defender, and she brought up in the previous year, so this was last year, she brought up in the previous year something we did in our quarterfinal game, like a change that we did to our defense in the quarterfinal game. We put in another like a different type of defense, and she brought it
Right?
up during the recruiting process, and it was like, "This girl cares."
There you go.
She was like, "I think I could do something like that, and I liked how you were changing the sets based on the MIDI lines."
Right?
That to me was like, "Eureka, yes, we need you. You're fab. I don't care." She gets it, right? So, like, I I completely agree with you, and I think that's fantastic that you guys are doing that because, like, I do agree, like, girls and I said this the last time we talked too, like, girls are like, "I wanna go to the University of Maryland." It's like, yeah,
Why?
yeah, obviously, because they win.
Yeah.
But, like, can you fit into that system?
Correct.
Do you watch their games? Do you like,
Yeah.
what position are you? Are you gonna
Right.
if you're a two-way midi, are you actually fit enough, or do you think you're gonna be a defensive midi or an offensive midi? Like, and
Right.
then how are you gonna produce? Like, one of the questions that I used to get a lot was, "Okay, coach, like, so how do you see me fitting into your team?"
Mhm.
It's like, "I
How
don't.
how do you see you?
I don't. You're 15 years old. I don't see you fitting into anything that I'm doing over here." So, like, that is what, like, I think that if people could or young girls, like, did what you and your daughter are doing, like, target the schools, watch the games. 1, develop your IQ. That's just, like, amazing, right? Like, watch higher level lacrosse. And 2, like, be prepared because every year is gonna be I mean, not every year, but some years are very different for programs, but there's still a core. Like, there's still a core defensive set, man to man or zone. There's still a core offensive motion or scoring plays, right? So, like, it's not just coming out of nowhere every year from a coaching staff. So, like, based on the years that you've been watching or the schools that you've been targeting, do they run something that you can be a part of and be able to talk about it? "Hey, coach," instead of saying, "Where do you see me fall into your system?" Say, I noticed that you play a 1 at X and a shell and maybe, like, 2 posts inside. I think that I could fit into that system because I'm a really great post girl on the back door." Right? So, like, uh being able to this is kind of like going hand in hand with the confidence piece that I was talking about, like, be confident in your abilities, know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and be able to, like, um, talk about it with a coach and say, it's not just like, "I like the University of Tampa because I love the weather." It's like, the amount of people that I've heard that say that, I'm like, "Yeah, you and literally everyone in the country who vacations in Florida." Like,
Right.
right? So it's like it's more than just location, it's more than just wins, it's more than just, I don't have any other schools at this point in time because
Right.
I don't know, like, your recruiting process changed, like, you have to adapt and change with your target schools and who's at legitimately on your list, and then, like,
Right.
educate yourself, go back on YouTube, go back on ESPN, on demand, go find it, find film and watch the film and find a system and say, "Okay, is this actually a good fit for me?" Not just because you like a school, but
Yep.
maybe because you like the system.
Yep.
I'll never forget the girl that, like, brought it up in the quarterfinal game. I was like, "What a random game," but, like, it was a lit game, so, I mean, good on her for watching, but, like, we did put a full new defensive system in based on line changes, and she
Mhm.
picked up on it, and that's just, like, a huge thing where I'm like, "This girl knows IQ, and she was like, "I think I could do it when you guys were putting in line 2 and going into a zone. I think I could do that." And I was like, "Damn, let's go." I think
Let's go.
yeah.
I think another
That's fantastic that you guys do that.
and I'll tell you
Everyone
self
listening and watching this, do that. If you
yes.
wanna get recruited, do that. That's amazing.
Watch it. I mean, on demand, ESPN on demand, you can get so many freaking games and watch them
Yes.
anytime you want to. I per A, we do that. I do that for my daughter as we're doing our research. I also do it naturally just because of my trainees. I got a number of trainees who are playing college ball, so I want to see how they're rocking out freshman year, junior year. Um, and also, lastly, you gain interest in schools you might not have had interest in. Okay, so for example, Michigan came here and they play USF. I like the fast pace that USF runs. They allow their Dodgers to be Dodgers, which is extremely attractive for us. But then I had never watched Michigan play, right? Never thought of Michigan as a lax school, as a woman's lax school. And I'm watching Michigan and I'm watching their offense and the screens and the creativity of their offense and how they kept doing the same play, just different ways. And I'm up in the stands like, yo, coach got an idea here.
Yeah.
Yo, this ain't bad right here, right? And I'm a Notre Dame guy, so Michigan's kind of but I'm looking at them like, yo, we might need to we might need to put Michigan on this list a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're starting to be exposed. You, you start to open up, right? Your blinders start to open up. All right, I had a list of 10, but shoot, this got to go number 11 here. I liked it. All right. I want to hit on one other thing because we have you. When it comes down to the financial conversation, I know you say, uh, back up. No, 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 no. I got two subjects I want to talk about. Sideline etiquette from parents.
Oh, I'm
I
passionate
know,
about this. I'm
I
passionate.
know. Okay, this is gonna be part 3 for us. Hit a little, give me a little taste, and then we'll organize part 3.
Okay, my taste is you're not the coach, so stop pretending to be one. You're not the
Okay,
ref, so stop pretending to be one. If you wanna go be a coach and you wanna go be a ref, then sign up and do it. Do the work that the other people are doing.
okay,
I applaud cheering. I purposely try to sit near, like, in the coaching zone, but, like, maybe to either one of the sides because I wanna hear, like, what the family culture is gonna be. Um Because you want someone that cares, you want a parent that is, like, passionate about their child's success and, like, can maybe not have rose, colored glasses on and just be like, "Well, that was someone else's fault." Like, you do want someone that can be like, "Oh, come on, like, catch the ball." Like, I do like that, but the ones that are, like, a little bit over the top is crazy. The people that are screaming at the refs or yelling at the other side is just kind of, like, unbelievable, and, like, also at the end of the day, like, I had literally never known what the score of a game has ever been. So,
right.
and the program rankings, like or the club rankings, I'm sure someone feeds into it, but, like, I don't anyone that I've ever talked to, like, does not care. Like, we know who the good programs are, we know who's a new program and maybe, like or maybe up and coming program. So, like, the rankings don't really matter, like, I think that, like, parents can get way too into it, and it's good to support your daughter, but that's what you're doing. You're supporting your daughter, you are not coaching her from the sideline, telling her to do a different thing that the coach is trying to tell them to do, and you're not harassing a ref. Like, people who are there on a frickin' Saturday or Sunday in the middle of, like, the summer in excruciating heat, give them a break, and they've ran up and down the field 100 million times. Like,
I've got a good follow-up for you. Hold on, because you hit on something.
okay.
You hit on something about the club rankings, the good club programs, the average. You kind of know what those clubs are. Now, here is the $1 million question. Actually, I'm going to make a statement, and then you go from there. College coaches know who their prospects are. They're going to try to follow and or observe and evaluate their prospects no matter how sorry their team is or how good their team is. If that prospect is on their recruiting board and they're interested in this prospect, they know they play for a trash club. They're going to try to see that prospect. So the club that this prospect is playing on, not that it does not matter, but it doesn't overshadow the prospect herself. True or false?
True.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
The club doesn't matter.
Elaborate.
Yeah. Well,
That's it.
elaborate, sorry. Well, I was like, yeah.
Go, go, go.
I was, like, thinking about it and I did. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the club okay, this can either help or hinder you. So, like,
Okay.
in potentially a good way for evaluation at least. So, like, if the club is really great and you're playing with really great people, then you are going to be able to probably have a little bit better of an IQ and not just, feel like all the pressure's on you, you have to take it, right? You
That's a
can
good
maybe
point.
get a little bit creative, right?
That's a good point.
Um, but then when you are on a really good club team that has, 7 people committed on September 1 at midnight, like, typically, they like to take they're doing majority of it, so that can sometimes hinder too if you're on, like, a really good club team. Simultaneously, if you are on a really bad club team, which is, hit or miss, whatever you sign up for, but
Yeah.
you're very talented and we're targeting you, um, it can be helpful because one, you can showcase yourself really well. You can figure out, all right, I need to take it. How much am I going to hustle? Because if your teammates are turning the ball over or something, then great. I'm riding, or if you're a true defender, then maybe you're getting a lot of defensive reps. You're getting opportunities to be seen, right? So there's that. But we've had people. Well, when I was at Tampa, like we had people who didn't even play club. Like, it didn't even necessarily matter. If you're a target and that's why I say, like, go to the camp because club is not it's not that it's not accurate, but you're not playing with them all the time like you are in high school or, how you're going to be in college, right? You have a few practices a week, and then you play 3, 4 games in a row over a weekend. It's just, like, not really, like, that honestly, like, that applicable. So, if you play in a bad club team and, like, people are, like, concerned about it, it's not like, "Oh, I'm the University of Tampa. We won a national championship. I'm only going to the top bracket." Like,
There
I'm
you go.
not doing that. Like, I'm
There you go.
targeting the kid that I wanna see, and that's based off of your film, right? That's that initial, um the first impression film. "Alright, she's kinda legit. I wanna go see her game." I'm not looking at it from a, "Oh, I'm only going to this game because this is, whatever, blah team," whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm going because I'm interested in you. I wanna see a half of your game, and I might look, okay, I wanna target this kid. I wanna see her play. Let me look at her schedule. Okay, this might be a more competitive game. I
Yeah.
might look at that based on, like, the club teams, but I'm not doing it. I'm not only going to this game because this is team number 1 versus team number 2 opposed to
Right.
team number 33 versus 34, right? I'm going because of the player.
And then go back to the prospect camps, and this will end with this. I'll forget the financial piece. We'll do it another time.
Okay.
But no, 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 because you're warming me up. I got a little mojo going, right? The importance of being at the prospect camp. Talk to anybody who's wanting to play college lacrosse about how you balance out your travel plans, your
Yeah,
club program, and that whether they're great or not, and then the prospect camps and how they should mesh together. Because what do each one do? How do they complement each other?
yeah,
You might have a bad tournament, right? Or you might not get the ball a lot, or it just wasn't a great impression with college coaches sitting there. And I think college coaches are smart enough to understand why you might not have had a good performance over the weekend on a half that they got to see you out of 500 clubs in a tournament, right? However, when you go to a prospect camp, now other things happen. So talk on that.
yeah. So I think a big thing would be you have to figure out financially what's appropriate for your family. And like the parents need to sit down. I mean, as much as the the player wants to make those decisions, like at the end of the day, I don't think that they're fronting everything. So, um, their parents one need to make the right decisions. I applaud people who make the decision sometimes to not for a club team, especially if you're on a club team that isn't good and you're not going to, like, the more talented, tournaments. It's, in my opinion, like, honestly not really worth your time and money to play for that club team. So, what is worth your time and money? Targeting the schools that and making the trips to go to their camps
Mhm.
and all of that stuff. Let's say you are playing for a club and then potentially for that same girl, like, maybe guest club like, guest playing for, a club that is, somewhere else. Like, in Florida, I saw that a lot. There was, like, girls playing for, like, Tenacity club team or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. Like, I do think that that would is a little bit, like, smarter sometimes because, especially I mean, this is kind of everywhere now, like, people are just making club teams. Like, when I played, there was, like, a solid maybe 30 clubs. Like,
And what state? What state?
I'm from Philadelphia, so Pennsylvania.
Okay, okay.
Like, in Pennsylvania, there was, I don't know, maybe, like, 5 5, like, legit ones, and so, like, it was a very different culture back then, but, like, now there's, like, anyone can play. Anyone can get on a club team if they're gonna pay the right price, right? So, I do think that, like, if it's if you're on a bad club team, maybe have a conversation with your parents, be like, "Okay, I wanna target these schools instead of wasting my time playing on a bad team." There's that. But let's say you are on a club team, you, are making the trips to Maryland, you're flying people from California. I've had people, like, they move to the East Coast for the summer for their daughter, which, like, wow, just first of all, thank your
Right.
parents for that, but,
Right.
like,
Wow.
yeah, that's incredible. But, I think it's all just it really comes down to, like, financials, like, does it make sense? And then, like, if you have a list of 30 schools, sitting down with your recruiting coordinator and, like, saying to that recruiting coordinator, like, "Hey, I need honest transparency about, like, what is a target school, what is a reach school, and what is, like, a shoo-in, like, I'm definitely gonna get there, a safety school, right? And make your recruiting coordinator be honest with you and not in the interest of getting a girl recruited for their club, but getting you recruited to the right place, because there like, my mom would do this when I played, like, the me going to the UNC lacrosse camp, I'm not going to UNC, like, I knew I wasn't
Right.
good enough, right? Like, and
Right.
so, like, there needs to be honest conversations with the recruiting coordinators to be like, "What is legitimate? Like, what is a good use of my money, um, to hit a few reaches, definitely hit the targets, and the safeties, like, maybe I can revisit them because they're gonna see me play a little bit more or something like that, or like, "Hey, they send an email, when can I get to campus?" Something like that. "Do you have any prospect tournaments?" Or maybe target them the following year, and you have to be patient, like, and so I think, like, that's probably the best way to navigate that system. It's not really like it's hard for me to give a black and white because everyone's
Yeah, yeah. Of
financials
course.
are different,
Yeah.
right? But, like,
Yeah.
if you can afford it and you can go to it, yeah, great, go to it. Like, especially if it's a higher level school, like, it's not gonna hurt you. You're gonna
Right.
get good coaching from the coaches that are running the camp, or you're gonna meet some of the players that you, wanna play like, and then you can ask them questions, but having a realistic conversation with a recruiting coordinator, and if you don't have a recruiting coordinator that you feel comfortable with to do that, then, like, really taking a look at yourself and saying, "Am I legitimately good enough to go there?" And then sitting down with your parents and being like, "Hey, these are reaches, or this is just gonna be an educational experience camp." Like, I'm just trying to get better at this camp, but this isn't necessarily a target. And if I show, great, I show great. But if not, like, I'm not gonna go home and stress about it, right? So I think
Correct.
that definitely you have to target the schools that you wanna go to, and you have to get on campus, you have to go to their camps. That's, like, kind of like a non-negotiable in my opinion. And then, maybe hitting 1 or 2 reaches. There's also a lot of showcases now that, like, are, not necessarily at the campus, but they're bringing in a lot of
Yeah.
coaches. Like, I would
Yeah.
say, like, doing the research to, like, find, okay, these are all these coaches are going, these are, like, some targets for me, signing up for the camp and maybe shooting, like, the director an email being like, "Hey, these are my target schools, if there's any opportunity for me to play on their team," or something like that, that would be great. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
It does. It does. And with all those questions I asked and answered, it does nothing but bring up more questions that I want to ask you at another time.
Good.
That's why you're a resource for me,
Yeah.
um, and a learning tool for myself and the fans out there. So this is why it's good, and I like your knowledge, especially from all skill sets as being, a player, a former coach, a championship level coach, a trainer, now a business owner. I like all of that. So we're gonna cut this one. I'm gonna push this one and get this information out, and we will schedule our next one.
Yeah, hell yeah, love it.
Love it.
Perfect.